a patriotic supersoldier who often fought the Axis powers of World War II and was Timely Comics' most popular character during the wartime period. The popularity of superheroes waned following the war, and the character of the comic book was discontinued in 1950, with a short-lived revival in 1953. Since Marvel Comics revived the character in 1964, this character has remained in publication. Hello and welcome to UPSC Current Affairs, and today let's learn about Captain America. Captain America is a comic strip superhero created by writer Joe Simon and writer Jack Kirby for Timely Comics. Timely Comics later came to be known as Marvel Comics. The character debuted in March 1941 in Captain America Comics number 1. Let's take a look at the origin of the Captain America character. Simon and Kirby created Steve Rogers, a would-be army enlistee rejected by recruiters because of his small size. Rogers volunteers to receive a top-secret serum and he is transformed into a super soldier. Dubbed Captain America and clad in a red, white and blue costume with a matching stars and stripes shield, Rogers joins the US Army, acquires a kid sidekick, plucky regimental mascot Bucky Barnes, and embarks on a career of enthusiastic Nazi bashing. The early stories were simple, straightforward tales peopled with bizarre villains such as the Hunchback of Hollywood, the Black Toad, and Ivan the Terrible. Chief among them was a Red Skull, a seemingly invincible Nazi whose face literally was a crimson skull. The stories of Daring Do were gripping and fast-moving, and the comic became one of the most widely read titles of the so-called Golden Age of Comics. Audience identification with Captain America was central to that success. The first issue announced the creation of the Sentinels of Liberty fan club. Eager young readers could join for just a dime, which entitled them to a membership card and a metal badge. The club proved so popular that its badge promotion had to be discontinued because of wartime metal rationing. By the time of the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Captain America Comics had become the publisher's top-selling title, and over the course of World War II, Captain America and Bucky fought the Axis powers on multiple fronts. After 10 successful issues, the comics creators were enticed away to rival company DC Comics, but their replacements, novice writer-editor Stan Lee and various artists, handled things well. In 1944, the character received the honor of his own Republic Pictures serial, Captain America, which was confirmation of his iconic status. As the war wound down, the market for patriotic superheroes began to shrink, and Captain America and Bucky were literally put on ice. In a story set in the final days of the war, the pair attempt to defuse a bomb on a drone aircraft, but the plane explodes over the frigid North Atlantic, sparking a complicated chain of events that ends with Bucky missing and Rogers floating in the water, seemingly dead. The post-war years saw a proliferation of differently themed comics, horror, funny animals, westerns, romance stories, everything, it seemed, except superheroes. With the disappearance of Rogers, the mantle of Captain America passed to a succession of replacement heroes, but they failed to resonate with the stalwart Sentinels of Liberty Club members. Captain America Comics ended with issue number 73 in July 1949, and after 2 issues titled Captain America's Weird Tales, the series was cancelled. Barely 4 years later, however, Captain America returned in Young Men number 24 in 1953, and the Captain America comic resumed printing in May 1954. The book, which boasted Captain America Commie Smasher as a subtitle, was an obvious product of the McCarthy era. The public did not warm to it. The Captain America series was cancelled for a second time in September 1954. Let's learn about the rebirth in the Silver Age. In the early 1960s, with Marvel superheroes rediscovering a large and enthusiastic audience, the time seemed right to reintroduce Captain America. In Avengers number 4 in 1964, it was revealed that Steve Rogers had not died in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. He had been trapped in ice and preserved in a state of suspended animation. The newly formed Avengers find Rogers' thawing body and revive him. Captain America immediately joins the Avengers and becomes something of an elder statesman among them. Within a year of his revival, he graduated to his own strip in Tales of Suspense, a title he shared with Iron Man, and was well on his way to becoming an icon again. Despite Kirby's return, the new Captain America failed to achieve the popularity of Marvel's powerhouse headliners such as Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. As an admission that the strip was at its peak during World War II, this revival almost immediately resorted to untold tales of the war. The character was nevertheless a cornerstone of the Marvel Universe in the 1960s, and with Lee and Kirby at the peak of their powers, the stories were a compelling read. Let's take a look at Captain America in the modern era. By the early 1970s, Stan Lee and Kirby had left the comic and sales were in decline when young writer Steve Englehart took Captain America into deeper, darker waters. In a lengthy tale that reflects both anti-war sentiment and cynicism born of the Watergate scandal, a conspiracy within the White House is revealed to be work of the evil Secret Empire, and the government's insidious corruption horrifies Captain America. Sickened at what he sees as the betrayal of his country, Rogers quits in disgust and briefly becomes a character called Nomad before his innate patriotism gets the better of him. Kirby returned to Captain America as both writer and artist in 1975, and he moved the title away from the social commentary that was typical of Englehart's take on the character. A series of writers shepherded Captain America into the 1980s, and in 1985, Mark Gruenwald began a decade-long tenure on the book. Gruenwald's run focused on superheroics at the expense of Rogers' civilian persona, and it introduced Diamondback, a sometime villain who evoked shades of Catwoman as a romantic interest. Mark Waid took over the character as writer in 1995, and he refocused on the basics of the character. While Steve Rogers might be a man out of time, Captain America is a symbol for all times. Mark Waid's brief but influential run paved the way for the virtual reinvention of the character in 2005, when Ed Brubaker began his critically acclaimed stint as a writer of Captain America. While not shying away from the comic conventions such as time travel, Brubaker's Captain America was a soldier and his adventures were noir-influenced tales of intrigue and espionage. Brubaker deftly reversed one of the most famous deaths in comics history with a story revealing that although Bucky lost an arm in the explosion at the war's end, he survived and his unconscious body was recovered by the Soviets. The Soviets replaced Bucky's missing arm with a bionic one and brainwashed him into becoming an assassin called the Winter Soldier. Between missions, he was kept in suspended animation, and thus Bucky, though now an adult, was still in his early 20s. Upon the apparent death of Steve Rogers in 2007, Bucky assumed the role of Captain America, a mantle that he carried until his own apparent death in 2011. At that time, Rogers once again became Captain America and Bucky resumed his clandestine operations, now as Captain America's ally as a Winter Soldier. Under writer Rick Remender, Rogers passed the mantle of Captain America again in 2014, when Captain America's body was subjected to rapid aging because of the diminishing effects of the supersoldier serum that granted him his powers. Sam Wilson, who had long fought by Rogers' side as the Falcon, became the new Captain America in All New Captain America #1, November 2014 comics. Marvel was unlikely to leave one of his flagship characters on the sidelines for long. However, and a de-aged, repowered Rogers returned in Captain America Steve Rogers in 2016. That title set the stage for writer Nick Spencer's Secret Empire in 2017, a crossover event that declared that Rogers was and had always been a sleeper agent for the fascist secret society Hydra. At a time when white supremacist and neo-fascist rhetoric was increasingly prevalent in the United States, comic fans had little interest in a story that reimagined Captain America as a Nazi. Despite the publicity generated by the critically reviled story, Secret Empire was one of the worst-selling crossover titles in Marvel history. In addition to appearing in comics, Captain America was featured in numerous animated television series and an assortment of video games. Director Joe Johnston's Captain America: The First Avenger in 2011 marked the character's first appearance on the big screen in almost 70 years. Chris Evans played the star-spangled hero in a film that expanded on Marvel's cinematic universe in a manner that delighted both comic fans and critics. Chris Evans returned as Captain America in The Avengers in 2012, Captain America: The Winter Soldier in 2014, Captain America: Civil War in 2016, Avengers: Infinity War in 2018, and Avengers: Endgame in 2019. The made-for-television miniseries The Falcon and the Winter Soldier 2021 saw the mantle of Captain America passed to Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie. Thank you for listening to this discussion on Captain America. For more such discussions, get the UPSC Practice app from the App Store.